long is it okay to be grieving? I mean, everybody says it's okay, take your time, but what's useful and what's not? And that's the question I want to discuss here, because honestly, I'm quite fed up with grieving. And of course you can say, well, if you're fed up, then why don't you stop? But it's not as easy as it sounds, because it does leave its traces of being tired. There are just moments that I just fall asleep. Like last night, around 8 o'clock my time, there was going to be a seminar, and at 7:30 I was just tired, so I lay down for a little bit, and then I woke up at 10. At 10 was the next challenge, and at some point I listened to it, but I didn't feel like, going to Zoom. I just watched it on Facebook, and every now and then I stopped and I really listened, and other moments I was like, okay, I'm just going to rewatch it again. So it's been over 2.5 months now since my mom died, so I don't have any parents anymore. And by the way, this place where you're looking at, that's the garden which belongs to my mom and my dad, and my dad was the one who was always working in that garden. And I think the sun is, the sun isn't there anymore, so let's do it this way. So all the tulips and all the stuff you see, that's my dad's doing, and I have to say my sister also moaned a whole lot. Anyway, getting back to the grieving process, what I've noticed is I am able to do the stuff for my clients who need help straight away. So that's a good thing. But when it comes to my own dreams and goals, that's a totally different story. So I used to be recording videos, doing the virtual Christmas trip. I've also recorded a few videos, about the loss of my mom and my dad and the cat who died a few weeks later, which is under 2 months ago. And how to deal with that as a business owner, because as a business owner, clients come and clients go, and I've got a dream. And please mind, the dream is not the same as specifically helping out the business owners I have in mind. There's a separate dream, and the separate dream has to do with the tweens, the people in their late 20s who don't finish their school, and I'm not talking about high school, but afterwards when they're studying on. They don't really fit into society. When they start working, it just doesn't seem to help out, and basically they're lost, and they need people who root for them, who vouch for them, who walk along with them. And I do that. I walk along with them. I lost one last summer, and she committed suicide. I don't think it was, we could have done something about it. She'd done attempts before, but this one was a really prepared one, and actually she had one of my someone I knew on the phone, and she was doing it, and he realized it. Her timing was such that she was that everybody would be too late. And well, if you just trace it back, then we get back to the time of Corona. It started like a year ago, and it really has for a number of people, life was disrupted in such a way that people lost their jobs, and people couldn't go out and see their friends anymore. So all the support systems were basically gone. And how to deal with that? So after I lost her, which was the end of June, and I worked with her quite a lot, I started watching Chicago Fire, and at first I was like, why am I binge watching? Well, I guess that's the grief and sort of not being able to do anything. But then when I was watching, I realized that Chicago Fire it has to do with all those out there who try and rescue someone and do stuff, but they're not always capable of doing so. And being in the field of those who help others out, I guess I needed to hear that I cannot be held responsible for her choices. I mean, quite honestly, it would be really arrogant to make it about me. So that helped. But now with my mom dying, my mom, she lived in this golden cage of fear, which was totally the opposite of my dad. My dad was the traveler. He went out there, and I guess for 8 years, so about a year after he had passed away, I decided to be in his toy store once a week so I could keep an eye on my mom. And in the meanwhile, I could just, go on with his legacy. And I heard a number of stories, and the funny thing is I do believe I got to know him better, during the time that I was there in the store. Well, at some point when Corona hit, stores weren't allowed to be open anymore, and my mom needed more support and more attention. My mom and I, we had a sort of difficult relationship. So she's the one who taught me everything when it comes to creativity, when it comes to drawing, when it comes to music, playing the piano. She's the one who's really responsible for it. She was also the one who used to study and learn languages. So she's, for a huge part, really positively influenced my life. And I'm grateful for that. And, going through her stuff nowadays, sorting things out because the house needs to be sold. Just recently there was this wooden doll and she'd drawn a face on it. And, going through that stuff, I ended up, crying hysterically. I didn't know it existed until my mom passed away, actually. You can cry hysterically, like it's a mixture of laughing and crying. But again, we had a difficult relationship, so I'm a caretaker. What do we call it? A caregiver, sorry. And she always had people who made the decisions for her when she was growing up. It was her mom, and you could choose which stepdad. And then it was my dad. He was 8 years older. And well, to give you a little bit of an idea, my mom, she wasn't in the Japanese camp, but she was in Indonesia when during World War II. So there was a lot of fear for. When it came to her mom, she was really worried about losing her family. And, the things that happened in the streets, they weren't good. Now, at the same time, my dad was here during World War II, and he lost his father when his father was the age of 41 due to a lack of medication, which the German people back then had made sure that they had that instead of the Dutch people. So he lost his dad due to a brain infection, and he had to take care at 17 years old of his entire, of his mom and his brothers and sister, which is quite a responsibility. So by the time that they met, and it's kind of a sweet story, because my dad decided to follow his father's dream, and which was going to Indonesia. That's where he met my mom, and a couple of years later they were married. They lived in Indonesia until they had to go to New Guinea, And that's when they had to decide where to go next, and they ended up back in the Netherlands, since my father is Dutch. Other family went up in Canada, and a lot of Indonesian people either went to America, Canada, or Australia, you name it, and it's there or out there. So the traveling is in the blood of the Dutch people. Okay, so going back, I'm actually going down memory lane, and that's the thing about grief. We are being confronted with the memories of other people. It's like going through the little booklets, things I do not want to forget. That's what my mom wrote down. My mom didn't own a computer. She constantly asked me, what's an app? And then I tried to explain it to her. And in these last couple of years, things got harder. So she actually had trouble with digital TV and the remote control, whereas she used to be the one who knew how to program the video and all that stuff. So yeah, that was weird. So when she finally got to experience her own freedom, because my dad died 9 years earlier, she had problems with me, because since I was the caregiver and taking care of her, being the closest one in the area, and sometimes going there up to 4 or 5 days a week, I wanted her to be able to live here at this house till the last moment possible. But it's kind of hard when someone cannot walk anymore and isn't able to cook anymore and is forgetful about the days. And of course, since I was the one around most, I noticed it, but other people around me didn't. And yeah, she didn't talk so fondly of me and to other people, because she could be really upset and angry with me. And of course, those are the things which are being told to other people, and not the other stuff. Then again, I formed this network around here from the neighbors. So, and they knew what I was doing. And I knew that if I just was able to make it up till dinner time, then we would be watching The Bold and the Beautiful together. We would have food, and she would calm down, and then we would hug it out and all that stuff, and we did. So I've got quite a few really sweet pictures of my mom and I. So going back to the series, when my mom had died, I was starting to watch 911, and when I went back to the first season, there's this dispatcher, this call dispatcher from 911, and she actually has a mom who is also, becoming forgetful. She probably had Alzheimer. Mom's probably had a different form, but that's not really important. And when I was watching it, I started crying, because I could see the frustration of her mom and lashing out at her with words and sometimes throwing stuff at her. And I was like, oh, yeah, I recognize that. And sometimes not recognizing her at all. And my brother and sister never encountered that, but I did. That my mom didn't know who I was. And then I would ask her, okay, so who do you think I am, and what am I doing here? And then she would get it back again. So it wasn't for a long time. But yeah, she needed support more and more, and I was the one to arrange it. So yeah, she hated me for that. Sometimes people would be around and she would actually say it. I would like to crush a plate on her head, because I'm so fed up with it, which I can understand, having lived a life where she had to do what she'd been told, first by her mom and later to a degree by my dad. So first I had to come to terms with not being there that last day. I had sort of guilt trip. Fortunately for me, after 2 days, that guilt trip stopped. Because if I had been around during the time, which I was planning on being, had it not been so immensely busy, and that's why I said January 31st, I was most high on my energy. There were so many trainings, calls, and whatever going on, which made me decide not to go, but to go the next day. And I did end up, communicating with my brother. Can you see what's going on the camera? What's going on? Because I needed to be sure that she wasn't on the floor or anything. And well, number of circumstances has led to my brother not seeing that she wasn't actually in her bed, which he thought he saw because of the cushions, but she being in the corner. The angle that didn't show anything. Me being so swamped that I just couldn't make it. And the new caregivers, you actually helped her, with washing her face and all that stuff. They were late. So they just arrived after she had passed away. And had I been there, I would have done anything. I would have called all doctors. Maybe she would have gone to the hospital. We're not sure what actually led to this. It could be a blood clot that got dislodged. It could be because she just didn't eat enough anymore. But whatever it was, she put her... she used a broom to walk around. Which does actually make sense because it's wide if you think about it. So there's a good grip on the floor. And she had put it down after getting up, going to the restroom, looking at the fridge. Probably she had some coffee even. And then she walked back, she put it next to the door, and then she walked inside. And honestly, she couldn't do that anymore. So we never know what was going on in her mind. I like to think that at that moment she saw my dad, or she saw this bright light and thought, oh, this is my time. She walked a few steps, then realized that she couldn't walk anymore. So she lay down on the floor, which, by the way, was where she always used to fall down, and where I found her quite a few times. And she got this cushion from the seat next to her, and she put it under her head. And well, it took her quite a number of hours, but that's what they say, that she fell asleep and she died in her sleep, which can take up to 24 hours. I didn't know, but now I do. And quite honestly, she didn't really suffer. So there was one moment that we could hear, or actually 2 moments, but that was it. She didn't cry out for help. And like I said, she hadn't fallen. She had been laying down on the floor, and we found her very peacefully. But that was her wish, to die at home and in her sleep. So had I been there, it would have been so differently. I really would have called all the GP, probably 911 for you out there, 112 for the people in Europe. And yeah, so it was good I wasn't there. But now all the other stuff, there are so many changes because at first it's just busy, arranging funerals, writing cards, all that stuff. And meanwhile, I had my other clients too, and I think that during those last months, December, January, I actually, a few weeks before she passed away, I had made this choice that if I had to choose between helping out the clients who really needs me straight away, those in their late 20s, early 30s, or her, I wouldn't know when she would pass away because she was a strong woman. But I did know that if I didn't help out my clients straight away, the young ones, that they probably would kill themselves. So it was important for me to know that someone was rooting for them and helping them out. And that's what I did. And quite honestly, the day that she finally passed away, that Monday, I was at the Salvation Army helping one of them out. You had been there for the first day, so when the phone rang, I didn't pick it up because it was too important that he got his place. And fortunately, a week later, that's just one advantage of Corona, he got to stay in a hotel, which was way more calm for him and, well, much more going on. I don't have to be on suicide watch for him anymore, nor for my other clients, which is a really good thing. And that has kept me going. But, going from such a busy time to, well, what sort of is like a quiet time, that does take its toll. So things are coming back, and like I said, I've been binge watching a number of series, and it's weird because I seem to be picking those series which are actually helping me, giving me answers, and that's good. So yeah, going back to grief, yeah, how long does it take? I don't know. But I do know that there are certain things which are helping me to get going again. So I'm doing these meditations in the morning, like, okay, what could be today? What could the day be like? I'm doing them in the evening to relive the day the way I would have liked it to have been. I also listen a lot to growth calls, like from Brendon Burchard and his guest speakers. I'm part of challenges, and yes, I do fall asleep, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes at the beginning of the evening. So I'm a lot awake during the night as a result, and sometimes I just sleep on. And yeah, that, I guess that's the mental process, going on. And everybody says it's okay to take your time, but quite honestly, I'm so fed up with it. Sometimes I just break down in those tears. I'm not sure if I said this before because the video didn't record straight away, but like that moment when I was looking at that wooden doll and my mother had drawn this face on it, I really broke down, because she had asked me, at the end, like, okay, do you draw again? And why have you stopped drawing? And, well, I never really stopped. I just didn't. I did it with an Apple Pencil. And, yeah, we're in the digital age after all. But, having seen her stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it again anyway. Because I really love to. And the funny thing is I have encountered some other stuff also from, I think it's Faber-Castell, where you can actually put a ring around a pencil, and the drawing actually gets registered on a PDF file, and you can transfer it with an app to a JPEG file, I assume. So yeah. So those things are pretty cool, but it's it's difficult to have a limited amount of energy. But I guess talking about it and being fed up with it is actually a good sign, because it makes me do things again. And having this nickname called Energizer Bunny or Duracell Bunny, it's it says a lot about me. When I start to do things, I do quite a lot, in a very short amount of time. So anyway, if you're going through the process, just comment. Let me know what you are dealing with and struggling with, and what you do. Like I said, for me, it helped to be watching the right series, even though I didn't know at first that they were the right ones. Talking to friends, lots of friends, doing nothing at all, writing things down, and taking time, going through all the stuff. Because, one of those things which really meant a lot to me was her having kept all the cards for me traveling the world, which I've got now at my own studio, and there are some other stuff, which is at my own studio too. But yeah, it's getting back in the rhythm, the meditation, seeing how things can be, should have been done. So reprogramming myself, and taking advantage of the sunlight, which now is gone, and just seize the moment. And yeah, do those challenges, watch those trainings, and see what you get out of it. And seek support. Just share a story. I'm doing so too, and it really helps. So find me if you want to know more about it. Facebook me, Lady Lexi's Life on the Road, or find me on Instagram, Lady Lexi's Life on the Road. And for those out there who can use some support, we always could do a free coaching session, because if I'm good at one thing, it's walking alongside others. So you won't be that one out there who feels all alone. So that's it for now. Talk to you soon.